In this video, we're going to continue solving with more than one variable term. So here are questions C and D, and these are going to have an extra component. So in the last video, our first problem, we had to combine like terms before we could solve. In the second one, we needed to distribute and combine before we could solve. And in these ones, something new is going to come up. So let's see what happens. Okay. So first, notice that there's more than one x term. Okay, so I'm going to just start by distributing. So we have 4 times x plus 4 times 1 equals 3x plus 5. And we have 4x plus 4 equals 3x plus 5. Okay. Now notice we say that we're combining like terms when there's two terms on the same side of the equation or in an expression on either side of the equation that are like terms. Here we have like terms, but they're on different sides of the equation. So we need to do something else here. We can't add 4x and 3x. They're on different sides. So let's draw a picture with a balance scale. And on the left-hand side, say we have 4x and 4. And on the right-hand side, I'll use different colors. We have 3x and 5. Okay. Now remember, our ultimate goal is to get one term with an x in it. Here we can't tell the construction process of the equation because there's x's on both sides. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the addition property of equality, okay, to make it so there's x's only on one side of the equation. So I'm noticing 3x is less x's than 4x. Okay, so I want to take, I'm going to think of, let's make a new little scale. I'm going to think of the 4x as a 3x and a single x, that total 4x. And here we still have a 3x and a 5. Okay. And now I'm going to remove a 3x from both sides of the scale. And that way it'll still be balanced, but I won't have any x terms on the right-hand side. Okay. So what we need to do in terms of this equation is subtract, because we're taking away, notice the arrow shows we're lifting them off, subtract 3x from both sides of the equation. Okay, and the addition property of equality says we can do this, okay, because we can add or subtract any quantity to both sides. We don't know what x is, but we know that 3x equals 3x, so we can subtract them both. Now our left-hand side, 4x minus 3x is 4 minus 3, which is 1x, plus 4. 3x minus 3x, notice this 3x is gone, so that's, we could say that's 0, plus 5. Okay. So now, typically, again, we don't write the 1x. I just wanted you to see how I got 4 minus 3. We just write this as x, plus 4. And typically here we subtracted and got 0, but we don't usually write the 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. Okay. Now this is an equivalent equation, and we can solve this. We could write the story. The story is pretty easy here. Okay, you start with x and you add 4. The result is 5. Okay, so the deconstruct process would be start with 5. Instead of adding 4, subtract 4. And the result is x. Okay. So 5 minus 4 is x, or x equals 1. Now let's see how this connects if we use the addition property of equality. Okay. We have x plus 4. We want to know what x is. Our goal is to get x by itself. So if we subtract 4 from each side of the equation, again, you could think of take this 4 away, take 4 of this 5 away, and that would leave 1. Okay. then we get the equivalent equation that has x on one side and only the number 1 on the other. Well, that means x must equal 1. So let's do this in the equation. Subtract 4 from both sides, and we get x equals 1. Let's look at the next one. Okay, we have all sorts of x's in this. Okay, so remember how we start. If you notice there's more than one x, you want to distribute wherever you can, and on either side of the equation, combine like terms if you can. So let's start with distributing. Here we have 3 times 5x minus 3 times 2 plus 4x equals 8x plus 6 minus x. So we distributed. Now I'm going to multiply. 3 times 5 is 15, so this is 15x minus 6 plus 4x equals 8x plus 6 minus x. So now that we've distributed, we can combine like terms. And remember, when we think of combining, we're thinking of the expression either on the left or the right. So focusing on the left, notice we have a 15x and a 4x that we can combine. So I'm going to do that first. 15 plus 4 is 19, so this is 19x minus 6. Now on the other side of the equation, my like terms are 8x and I have a minus x. So I can combine those. So 8 minus 1 is 7, so this is 7x plus 6. So now we've distributed anything we can distribute. We combined any like terms on either side of the equation. And now this is where we can use the addition property of equality to have all of the x terms on one side. Okay. Now you can subtract either 7x from both sides or subtract 19x from both sides. Okay. I typically try to subtract so that my x term is positive, but it's okay not to. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides of the equation. So again, imagine these weights on the balance beam. On both sides, I'm going to subtract the 7x. Okay. So on the left-hand side, 19 minus 7 is 12, so we have 12x minus 6. Here, 7x minus 7x cancels to 0x or 0, and then we have 6 on the right-hand side. Okay. Now we can make a construct and deconstruct story, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to use the principles of equality to solve also. So here, the story of x is take x, multiply it by 12, subtract 6, and the result is 6. Now if we want to reverse that, let's do that in a different color. We'd start with 6. Instead of subtracting 6, we'd add 6. Instead of multiplying by 12, we would divide by 12, and the result would be x. Okay. So let's go through this process to find x. So we'd have 6, we'd add 6, divide the result by 12, and our result is x. So notice this is 12 over 12, which equals 1. Okay. So there's the construct and deconstruct process that gives us 1. Now let's use the principles of equality. First, the addition. We have subtracting 6 here, so let's add 6 to both sides of the equation. Okay. So I'm doing the opposite, so this way we'll have minus 6 plus 6 will give me 0. And I still have 12x, and I could write 12x. This cancels to 0, so I could put plus or minus 0. We're just going to write 12x, and 6 plus 6 is 12. Okay. So notice, looking at the right-hand side, there's our 6 plus 6 is in the numerator. Now we're going to divide by 12, so we can get 1x. So So x is multiplied by 12. To undo that, we divide both sides by 12 to keep it balanced. 12 divided by 12 is 1x, or just x, and 12 divided by 12 is 1. And notice that's the step we did here. So that's how they correspond. Okay? So in these examples, in addition to combining like terms or distributing, we distributed. Okay? Both times distribute first. Okay? Then you're going to combine any like terms. And then once you have everything combined on the left and right hand side of the equations, use the principles of equality. First, addition or subtraction, so you only have x terms on one side. Okay. Then you can use addition or subtraction, like we did in this case. So we can bring all the numbers quantities to the right hand side or the other side. Okay. And then in this problem right here, we also had to do a final division step. Okay. So this process still works, and you should practice this process, especially now that we have shorthand for it. Okay. But start to connect these ideas to the structure of using these principles. We have 2 more questions that we'll do in the next video.